ComC is your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace is home to over 27 million cards across all sports, genres, and eras. With a ComC account, you can purchase cards from different sellers over time and ship them home together later, or immediately reprice them for sale on the ComC marketplace. To stay updated with ComC, please follow them on social media at CheckOutMyCards, one word, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn about offers, promotions, and more at ComC, please visit blog.comc.com. You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Sommer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 2022. I want to start this year off by continuing I guess it's somewhat of a tradition now that I've had the last couple years, and that is to talk about some goals. The last couple years, I've started the year by writing a blog post and doing a podcast episode talking about what my goals were for the prior year, how well I did on those goals, and what that means for 2022 and the things that I'm going to try to achieve in the next year. And so let's go ahead and dig into that, and let's get started by recapping a little bit about what my goals were for 2021 and whether or not I hit those goals. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It was a mixed bag. There were some of the goals that I hit and some of the goals that I didn't hit. And I don't know, I don't have definite answers on why some of that was, but I've got some hunches and I've got some ideas, and we'll see how that goes. But, I thought maybe I would kind of recap both the wins and the losses here. So first of all, my goals for 2021. The first goal was for kind of a vintage PC goal, and that was to complete the 1968 top set. And I'm happy to say that one was done, and that one was completed fairly early in the year. Sometime in the first half of the year, I was able to track down the last couple cards. I got the Mickey Mantle that I needed from Uncle Rich Klein, and I was able to get the Nolan Ryan rookie on ComC. And so I was happy to put together the 68 set. And it really wasn't as challenging as I thought. I was able to do it by using some of the profits from card sales, especially on those last couple cards, and that was great. So between Sport Lots, ComC, and a couple in-person deals, was able to get that 68 set done. So we can put that one in the success column. I also had the goal of acquiring 4 2021 base sets, and really what that meant was Topps Flagship Series 1, Series 2, and Update, along with the Bowman release. And I was able to do that in a variety of ways as well. For the most part, I bought, I think, one hobby box of Series 1 because it's always fun to open Series 1. And I bought everything else through other collections that walked into the shop. People that had kind of bulk inventory, and I was able to snag that bulk inventory, piece together the sets, made a couple final purchases on Sport Lots and a couple trades on Twitter for a few of those final cards that I needed, but I was able to successfully put together those 4 sets. At one point a couple years ago, I was going after like 8 or 10 sets a year, but I really scaled that back. I really decided that a focus on modern was not going to be a long-term strategy for me, but I still want to put together those base sets every year just to have that kind of historical record, because that's one of my favorite parts about collecting, is having that historical record of these seasons. So another one that's in the win column. Next up was to make a profit and increase my inventory. That was another thing that I was able to do successfully. Both my ComC inventory grew. I'm up to almost 100,000 cards on ComC. My Sport Lots inventory grew by probably 60 to 80,000 cards. I'm up to almost 250,000 cards listed on Sport Lots now. And my eBay inventory grew. The shop inventory was probably a wash. I started the year with that 1,000,000 card inventory. A big chunk of that was at the shop. I sold a lot of stuff at the shop. I bought some other collections throughout the year. So I'd say my shop inventory is pretty flat, which is good. That means I was moving cards and replacing them along the way. But my online inventory grew substantially, and I think that was great. I also was able to make a profit once again this year. And so to add inventory all paid for with profit, to still have a net cost of $0 for all of my inventory because I've been able to buy it all with card profits, that is a huge win for me when I talk about the long-term viability and the long-term success of treating this whole hobby endeavor as a side hustle. And so that's another one that was in the win column. Now, let's talk about a couple of the things that didn't go so well for me in 2021. Or maybe I should say they just didn't go quite to the level I was shooting for when I set my goal for 2021. And the first one was a WaxPackHero goal of creating 400 pieces of content. When I started 2021, I thought I was going to be able to crank out 400 pieces of content. That's about 50 podcasts, that would be about 50 blog posts, and then that would be another 300 TikTok or Instagram reels. And that just didn't happen. The podcast episodes, for sure. I was consistent. Weekly podcast episodes were released. Even when I was on vacation, I had stuff cranked in the queue, was able to get those out. But the blog posts really started to trickle off. And the TikTok videos really started to trickle off towards the middle of the year. And I think there's a couple things from that. Is one, partway through 2021, I found myself feeling somewhat uninspired. I was uninspired to write. I was somewhat uninspired. I felt like I didn't have any interesting things to say to put on TikTok a lot of times. And so I didn't create. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, there's a part of me that only wants to not just hear myself talk and talk about nonsense or talk about things that are just not going to be helpful to somebody. But at the same time, I think there is a benefit to still put in the work to find something that is informational and helpful to say, even if I don't feel like saying it. And so I feel like that was somewhat of a letdown that I didn't hit that goal, but at the same time, I still created a lot of content. And so it was a partial win, but I definitely didn't get anywhere close to 400 pieces of unique content along the way. I also wanted to grow followers and traffic, and this is another goal that was kind of a mixed bag. I went into 2021 coming off this blowout year of 2020 where things were fantastically growing for me. The podcast was growing huge, the blog was growing huge, the TikTok and Twitter followers were growing huge, and so I set my goals in 2021 to pretty much double everything. And that was maybe a bit of irrational exuberance because that didn't really come close to happening. Everything did grow except for website traffic. So I grew my Twitter followers. I grew my TikTok followers. I grew Instagram followers. The podcast was pretty flat. So I guess everything grew except the website and the podcast. The podcast listeners and downloads from January to where they are in December was pretty much flat year over year. I didn't see the growth that I was hoping for from the podcast perspective. And the blog traffic also decreased some. And I'm probably pretty confident that is a couple things. A lot of it related to the fact that instead of doing 1 to 2 blog posts a week, I was doing more like 1 to 2 blog posts a month. And so the regular addition of new content onto the site, I don't think... I think that impacts both the Google algorithm for where I show up in Google searches, as well as just the natural flow of traffic that comes with writing a new blog article. And so the WaxPackHero traffic, the WaxPackHero growth was kind of a mixed bag. I increased my following, I increased my presence on many of the platforms, but the website traffic was down a little bit, and the podcast traffic and the podcast listens and followers were pretty flat year over year. All right, so before we get into 2022, let me take a break to tell you about my sponsor, Underdog Collectibles. They were actually the first sponsor of the podcast. They're an online shop run by collectors for collectors, and they break new product every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday night. You can find out what they're breaking at udogcollect.com. You can watch their breaks live on YouTube. You can join their Facebook community, and you can visit their physical brick and mortar shop in Knoxville, Tennessee. Wherever you connect with Underdog, make sure you tell them that WaxPackHero sent you. All right, so what does this mean for 2022? Where am I going to go this year based on what I've seen the last couple of years? Well, I think for the most part, the overall categories for the things I want to achieve in 2022 are going to be pretty much the same. Let's talk about a vintage PC goal. I am finding a greater and greater passion for vintage cards. Whether it's baseball, some vintage basketball that I've been pursuing, and even some old pre-war cricket cards that I've been going after. I've continued to have a lot of fun collecting vintage cards, and I'm going to keep this Topps baseball set run going. So my goal for 2022 is going to be to complete the 1967 Topps set. Now, I'm off to a great start. I've got probably about 80 cards to go is all. But they're all high numbers plus the Mickey Mantle. And so it's not going to be cheap to put together those last 80 cards, but I think I should be able to do it. A few cards a month on Sportlots and ComC, and probably a couple cards in person. And by the end of the year, I hope to finish off that 1967 Topps set. It's going to be a pricey one, but that's going to be one of the main focuses of my collecting money. The money that I take from those profits and put back into the hobby, that 67 set's going to be a big focus there. And I want to continue to acquire the 2022 Topps flagship sets. So again, Series 1, Series 2, and Update. That is going to be a goal. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy any hobby boxes to do that. I might try to do that all through collections that walk through the door, or possibly if I don't get a lot of collections from Series 1 and Series 2, I might buy a factory set and then just put together the update set later. But I still want to get the flagship 2022 set, as well as Bowman, if I can get Bowman from things that walk through the door. I'm not going to buy inflated retail prices for sealed Bowman wax. That is never going to happen in 2022. But I would be happy to build the set if wax that's already been opened walks through the door as part of some of these collections. So we'll see how that goes. But those are really the only modern sets that I'm going to be pursuing in 2022. And of course, from a financial perspective, I want to once again make a profit and increase my inventory. I'm looking at this whole WaxPackHero side hustle as with kind of like a 10-year horizon. My ultimate goal is that I'm able to continue to scale this up and build inventory over the next 10 years or so until I'm able to actually retire from my 9-to-5 day job, and then turn this into a side hustle that supports my retirement income and my pension income and the 401k and all of the other investment income that I've got. To be able to use this card money to supplement that and not be able to draw down those things near as much, that would be fantastic. And so that's kind of my long-term goal of where I'm going with this over the next 10 years. So I want to continue to profitably build inventory over time. And so that will continue into next year as well. From a content creation side of things and a social media presence side of things, I'm going to adapt that a little bit. This last year really kind of threw me for a loop. I don't know where to go. The first couple of years of the blog and podcast were growing so well. I should say the first couple of years of the blog grew so quickly. The podcast grew very fast in the first year and then leveled out in the second year. I really don't know where to go. I don't really know a specific number target to shoot for going into 2022. And so I'm going to shoot for some growth. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm going to shoot for some growth. We've seen the overall market start to stabilize a little bit. There's so many content creators that are out there now putting out great content. The competition for ears and eyes is never been higher than it is today. And I recognize that I'm not the biggest, I'm not the flashiest, I don't have the biggest following for all of that. And so the competition is strong, and I don't necessarily have content for everybody. But I do think I have good quality content for a lot of people. So my goal for social media presence and content is to grow something. I want to engage with all of you out there, and I want to have more followers and more listens than I had the year before. But I don't think I'm going to set a specific number target because I just don't have any idea what a realistic number would be. So I just want to grow. As far as how many pieces of content I create this year, I'm going to shoot for, again, 50 podcast episodes, one per week. So I guess technically 52. 25 blog posts. Instead of doing one a week, I'm going to shoot for one every other week or two per month. And 50 TikTok/Instagram reels. That'd be about one per week. I should be able to beat that goal, but I should for sure be able to meet that goal of doing at least one TikTok/reel per week. And I think that's what I'm going to go for. This can't consume my life. That's another big goal that maybe I should say that that's a goal in and of itself. This is a side hustle. Family, my faith, and my day job, that stuff comes first. WaxPackHero and the card stuff, that's a secondary thing for me. That's a hobby that I enjoy. That's a side hustle that I enjoy, but that comes second to all those other things. So keeping my priorities in line is probably something else that I should say just right from the start is also a goal. And so that is another thing that I'll be thinking about throughout the year. So that's what I think I'm going to do this year. That's what I'm going to shoot for. That's what I'm going to strive for. That's what I'm going to lay out as a plan of attack for 2022.
The Sports Card Shop is your small-town local card shop with a global reach. Located in New Buffalo, Michigan, the shop is one of the most accessible in the Midwest. In addition to being an authorized Panini direct dealer, the Sports Card Shop carries all major trading card brands, including Topps, Upper Deck, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and more. With all that new wax, 500,000 singles, and showcases full of graded cards, you're sure to find something great for your collection, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned collector. The Sports Card Shop is your one-stop shop. So call us, come see us, or visit us on the web and social media. Our phone number is 269-469-0140. Website is thesportscardshop@moco.com. The Sports Card Shop is part of the MOCO Retail Group, connecting sports, the hobby, and people around the world.
Now it's your turn. I want to hear from you about what your collecting goals are for 2022. And hey, if you've never set collecting goals, then this is a great time to get started. Even if it's purely from a perspective of wanting to add a certain card or a certain set to your collection, go ahead, put it down, put it on paper, and work towards that goal. Reach out to me and let me know what your goals are. Reach out on Twitter @TheMikeSummer. You can reach out at waxpackhero@gmail.com or by searching WaxPackHero on Instagram or TikTok. And if you want to help me towards achieving some of my 2022 goals, please consider telling a friend about the show and clicking that subscribe button if you haven't already. Come on back next week. I'm going to be starting a new series here in 2022 where I have a conversation with a variety of super collectors who have a special focus for their collection. And next week's is the first one in that series, and it's going to be with Refs in the Back. He collects basketball cards that feature a referee in the background of the photo. So come on back for that conversation. It was a lot of fun to have. Well, that's all I have for you today, so I'll catch you next time.